Chair Salim, the meeting is live.
Okay. I now call to order the Special Planning Commission meeting of July 12, 2021. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Other commissioners, please mute. Darn it, I muted myself, sorry. Just a second. What a great way to start the session. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Just a second, I have to start over, I'm sorry. While in the middle of giving the Pledge of Allegiance, my screens have completely crashed. Nancy, could you take over for a second?
God, do I remember the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It only takes two of us to do that. Please remain standing for the statement of values. Secretary Chair Clara, please read the statement of values.
As we gather, we humbly seek blessings upon this meeting. May we act with strength, courage, and will to perform our obligations and duties to our people with justice to all. Let us seek wisdom so that we may act in the best interest of our people, our neighbors, and our country. All this we ask so we may serve our community with fairness and respect, putting their needs before all.
Thank you. You can be seated. Elizabeth, please call the roll.
Commissioner Biagini.
Present.
Commissioner Chair Kuru.
Here.
Commissioner Hero.
Here.
Commissioner Wang.
Here.
Commissioner Ikesi.
Present.
Chair Salim.
Here.
Commissioner Bhatnagar.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, since we're all here, I'd like to take a moment and have introductions for Yashraj Bhatnagar, who is our newest member of the Planning Commission. I'm doing this off of my phone because my other screens are all completely black right now. So could our new commissioner please give us—
We can hear and see you really well, Les.
I know the camera's on a separate device. It's my
Oh,
screen
okay.
on my computer that are completely black.
Okay.
Did you ask me something?
Yes, this was hoping you could introduce yourself, give us a little bit of your history, and let the people know how you got a part of the commission.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. Well, I had interviewed last year when there had been some opportunities. I believe there were one or two positions that were open. At that time, there was a good slate of candidates. And of course, the council did its job of selecting the best and put two of us among the candidates as reserved for a future opening if that became possible or became an eventuality, which turned out it did happen. And I was contacted along with the other person. Well, there you have it. There was a 50% chance, and I guess I made it. I have been a resident of Santa Clara since 1995. That was the year that we actually came to the United States from Canada, and spent a good 15 years working at Applied Materials, one of our well-known Santa Clara worldwide multinational companies that have done very well in the Valley and elsewhere. About a decade ago, I really had a chance to move out and go visit the startup world, which is something that a lot of people out here in the Silicon Valley, aspire to. I got that chance, so I took it. Got through 2 startups. Neither of them really materialized too much, but the experience that I got working in those companies and living here at the same time was really remarkable. I currently work at a company called Comet Technologies. They are in North San Jose, Santa Clara border on Zanker. And it's a Swiss company. And I've been there just about a year. My real interest is in really serving this real lovely city that we live in, that has in my mind a moniker of small but mighty, right? It's a mighty place where a number of my neighbors here, they are very established neighbors. They've been like first time owners of homes that are in this neighborhood. And let me tell you a little bit about this neighborhood. So back when the pandemic started, one of our neighbors just thought, Pam, her name happens to be Pam, thought that it would be nice to kind of, acknowledge our frontline workers with an evening walk through the neighborhood, making some noise and basically clapping as we go along, letting everybody know that we really are grateful for all the risks that our healthcare workers and others are taking for us. Can you believe it that tradition continues today? And that is my neighborhood. So I just love the place that I live in, and I want to see if this is an opportunity that can help me serve, give something back from everything that I have received so far. Thank you.
Well, welcome. I have my screens back. I don't know what technology gods I had to convince, but I finally can see everything. I think our next step would normally be to have Secretary Chair Kuru please read the Declaration of Commission Procedures.
Thank you, Chair. Public hearings are conducted by the chair in accordance with the following procedures. The chair of the commission directs all activity during the hearings. All comments shall be addressed to the commission. Any item on this agenda may be continued to a subsequent hearing. Applicants will be allocated up to 10 minutes to present and justify proposals following staff presentation of the item. Other speakers will be given up to 2 minutes. The applicant is allocated up to 5 minutes for rebuttal of comments. No additional comments will be accepted upon the close of the public hearing, although the commission reserves the right to direct questions to any speaker on any matter. Special procedures, time limits may be applied to any items as prescribed by the chair. Appeal of commission actions must be filed in writing within 7 calendar days. And that's the end of procedures. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I need to read a little bit more. Copies of the current agenda and staff reports for each of the items on the agenda are available from the Planning Division office on the Friday afternoon preceding the meeting and available online. So we're up to continuances and exceptions. As part of the meeting allows for applicants, members of the public, or other interested parties to request an item be continued without hearing, to withdrawn, or taken out of order. Are there any requests from applicants, the public, or the commission for a continuance or exception for any of the items on tonight's agenda?
No requests.
Okay. And I caught up to where I would have mentioned our new commissioner, but thank goodness we've already had a great introduction. So we are able to move on to our consent calendar, unless I've missed anyone. No? Okay. Let me open up the participants list and look for hands more frequently. Okay, so in the consent calendar, Secretary Chirukuru, could you please read the procedure?
Sure. The procedure for consent calendar is as follows. Consent calendar items may be enacted, approved, or adopted by one motion unless requested to be removed by anyone for discussion or explanation. If any member of the Planning Commission, staff, the applicant, or a member of the public wishes to comment on a consent calendar item or would like the item to be heard on the regular agenda, please make this request now. Items listed on today's consent calendar is 1A, Planning Commission meeting minutes of May 10th, 2021 meeting.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I do have a correction in just a word on
Okay,
page
go
5.
ahead with that.
I move with the correction on page 5 of the minutes to add the word "and" on the main bullet. And I think, let me pull up the minutes meeting. Give me just a second. It's between the height and the prohibition. Let me read out the statement for the record. Bear with me as I lost my page here.
Okay, every word counts in these.
Yes, and it was important because it had a distinction to the actual.
So you said on page 5.
It's on the bulleted or bold version of it, Elizabeth. And I'll read the statement right now. I'm just opening the file.
Page 3, page 4, page 5 on the bulleted.
I think it's the last bolded statement.
Correct.
Is what
A
you're
motion.
thinking.
A motion was made by Commissioner Chirukuru, seconded by Commissioner Biagini to adopt Resolution 4 with the friendly amendment by Chair Salim to consider height of buildings and to prohibit data centers in the specific plan. Or it's a comma, however you want to. I just wanted to confirm the distinction in that statement.
And I will second with that correction.
And Mr. Chair, if I might,
Sure.
if hypothetically speaking, any commissioners wanted to abstain because they weren't present at the last meeting, this would be a perfect time for them to indicate that they are abstaining from this vote.
Yeah, this policy to abstain when you're not present at a meeting that's minutes are being approved.
Yes, thank you. And I will abstain since I was not there for the last meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. So the motion is to approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes with adding additional text to the item we just spoke about on page 5.
Punctuation.
Commissioner Biagini,
Aye.
Commissioner Chirukuru,
Aye.
Commissioner Hero,
Aye.
Commissioner Wang,
Yes.
Commissioner Akazi,
Yes.
Chair Salim,
Yes.
Commissioner Bhatnagar,
Abstain. He's abstaining.
I am abstaining.
thank you.
Okay, passes here unanimously. And thank you for catching that. I skipped right over the language. That's a very important comma,
It
though.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I think maybe another typo in the minutes.
Yeah, but when it's a part of a motion, it's pretty important to get it corrected.
Yeah.
Comments and content. Yeah, you can have typos, but motions are very important.
Yeah. Actually, I think maybe another typo.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, for the agenda packet, page 9.
I'm sorry, are we in the minutes or where are we at?
The whole packet, page 9.
Okay. Yeah,
You
that's
see-
outside of the minutes, but it wasn't for that meeting, right?
Yeah, that one, it's
There is not a
We-
page 9 and, and okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, in
back.
that meeting's agenda. Oh, boy.
The whole packet, yeah, page 9 on the top, the motion failed by following vote. I think the motion passed, right? Since it's all aye. If you look at the
I think I
page,
know what he's
maybe page 10. Page 10. Sorry, it's agenda packet, page 10. On the top.
where it says a motion was made, seconded, that this
Yeah.
item be approved, but then it failed by the following vote, and it indicates 6 people said aye.
Yeah.
That
True.
seems at
Yes.
odds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is good eyes.
Very good eyes.
Yeah, that's it.
So I would assume the motion passed,
Exactly. Yes.
not failed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not following where you're talking about. So I'm looking at the minutes.
Okay, if you're looking at the minutes themselves separately from the agenda packet,
Uh-huh.
I would go to minutes
Page
would, on the
5.
minute. Yeah,
Page
page
5.
5. No, it's page 5, very top. The first bolded section.
A motion was made by Commissioner
I see.
Cherukuru,
Okay.
seconded by Commissioner Harrell. This item be
So a
approved.
correction to the minutes. Yeah.
The motion passed
By the
by the
following.
following vote would be the correction.
Yeah. We will make that change also.
Do we have to take the vote again with this correction, Elizabeth or Xander?
Well,
I think if there's
yeah.
no,
but I'm afraid I don't understand the statement. This item be approved. What is the item?
So in the minutes, I was just reading the statement that this item be approved. The motion failed is what's showing on the minutes, but it says ayes. And so the correction is the motion passed by the following vote, not failed.
I agree. I agree that's an error. We don't know what the motion is. Was this the motion on the?
this would have been the motion.
It must have been on the sequel, right?
Item 2, it should have been number 1, I believe, adopt the reso approving.
Oh, the final
final
EIR. Yeah.
But resolution 1 follows.
Oh, or was it for the recess?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, because then we talk about resolution 1 and resolution 3.
It
The
could have been
meeting,
just for the
meeting
recess.
went into recess and reconvened. So that might have been what the motion was, to go ahead and recess and reconvene at 8:20.
Pardon me,
We also
Commissioner.
did.
I finally found that moment in my notes. What happened at that moment was there was a motion to close the public hearing.
Oh, of course.
That's
Sorry for that error. We'll get it fixed.
Thank you, Commissioner Huang, for those great eagle eyes of yours.
Oh, God.
And thank you, Elizabeth and Xander, of course, for keeping copious notes on all of these.
Yes.
We'll make sure we get those corrections made.
All right, terrific. Do we need to redo the motion or is
No,
it?
I think the motion basically was kind of generic about making the correction.
Right.
On
Yeah.
that.
And if there's no objections to the second correction, we're good.
Okay. Good. The paperwork's out of the way. Our new commissioner is getting a full experience. Robert's Rules of Order and Process.
Okay.
All right, so we're moving on. I think we're moving on to public presentations. And
The first one is the election of the chair, vice chair, and secretary, but if you want to defer that till after the public hearing, you can. It's a matter of whether the commission chooses.
you know, because that really isn't public, we probably want to get it done now. I'm fine with that.
Technically, the agenda says public presentations are next,
Mhm.
you could make them, you could rearrange the agenda if you wanted, but tonight's agenda has public.
Okay, I like you. Keep us on the straight and narrow.
Simple.
Right, public presentations. Elizabeth, are there any members of the public that would like to briefly address the commission on any item not on the agenda?
No, there's no one here to make a public presentation.
Okay, good. So we've officially pushed past that and we can move into public hearing.
Mhm.
And in the public hearing, the first item is to determine election of planning commission chair, vice chair, and secretary. So I think at the appropriate level is for us to entertain nominations and then discuss, or actually we can discuss and then entertain nominations and discuss some more, however you want to proceed. I've only been through this a couple of times, so it's been a long time. Do we have nominations? Or discussion?
I think you guys did.
I do.
Okay.
I guess Commissioner Biagini is our vice chair right now, so I recommend, I nominate her for the chair. While I'm at it, I like to nominate Commissioner Chirukuru for the vice chair. And we have a volunteer for the secretary. That would be great.
I'd like to nominate Ricky Hero for secretary.
I agree with all those choices. Which I think that would be a perfect doc for us. Are there any objections or other nominations? No?
No objections.
Do we need
No
to
objections.
vote through that change, or can we go through consent?
I think if we just one motion, someone who wants to make that motion, and then there can
Oh,
just be.
I make a motion to vote Commissioner Biagini as the new chair, Commissioner Chirukuru as the new vice chair, and Commissioner Harrell as the new secretary.
Second.
For year
Third.
Or
next month and 2022.
Yeah, it starts next month, right?
First next month.
Okay.
So that's been,
I-
seconded.
I second. This is Priya.
All right.
Oh no, it starts now. It's July. It's
yeah,
from
we've
July
closed
to
past
June. So
more
yeah,
than we usually.
immediate. Yeah, immediate.
Quick, pass me the notes, Lance.
I'll give you the gavel. That's my gavel.
So, Elizabeth, I don't know if we just could do a voice vote. I'm not sure we need it on the banner on the.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those against? Passes unanimously. Congratulations, Commissioner
Thank
Biagini,
Congratulations.
our chair.
Congratulations and thank you to Lance for a great year.
Yeah,
Lance.
if I couldn't get the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you very
out.
much, Chair.
That was
Oh, Lance, those are big shoes to fill. I hope I can make you proud. And the rest of my
No
fellow
question.
commissioners.
You're definitely all perfectly suited to the roles you've taken, and I look forward to having many meetings under your guidance.
Okay.
Elizabeth can send you the cheat sheets.
All right.
You can read all the wonderful stuff.
You'll get cheat sheets too, Ricky, and Priya knows about cheat sheets.
Yeah.
You know, I've never really pictured myself as a secretary.
You look, God, I
You
thought
have
you looked
been
perfect as
anointed.
one. Ah.
And I look forward to a year of staying quiet.
Well, yes, the secretary does have the majority of the speaking parts in
Right,
this.
right.
Quite an impressive list. And the other newer commissioners have this to look forward to in their future, because we as a commission try to rotate the positions every, what, 6 months or year?
Every year.
A year.
It's been a year. Oh my gosh. I
It
haven't
has.
even imagined this has been an entire year already. That is extremely wild.
Well, you've done so well.
To be
so-
fair, it would have been all of 6 meetings.
Yeah, that's right. But learning sessions and other things, yes.
Yeah.
Great. Do you want to, do we just let her take over now? Is that our,
I wanted to confirm, so are we putting our new officers in right now then?
I'm for it.
Because we do have a video team who will update the names right now. That's why I'm asking.
Okay, typically we do it as a for the next meeting, but if the commission prefers to do that, it's just really as it's a matter of simplicity to continue. But if you guys want to
Well,
switch,
May I comment? Normally, I would say it's not a problem, but with the cheat sheet that gives the script of the process that I don't have, I'm afraid staff is going to have to interrupt several times and say, no, Nancy, now we let the public. No, Nancy, now we close the public. And it might be easier since Chair Salim has it, sorry, Lance,
Okay.
that he continues and I pick up next month. I'm just suggesting that. Otherwise,
Yeah,
I'll give it my
that's
best.
fine. I have everything open and ready to go. We can, tonight should be a fairly limited meeting, hopefully, and we'll
Yeah.
be able to plow through it pretty good.
Okay.
Well, anyway, congratulations to our commissioners with their new roles and on the team. So item 3 on public hearing is the consideration of development request to rezone from planned development to planned development of property. Well, it's a transition of some of the details of the property located on 190 North Winchester Boulevard to modify the previous city approval for a recently constructed senior housing project, the Santana Terrace Apartments, to allow rental to residents of all ages. And I understand staff has a presentation, so we can turn it over to them.
and Debbie Fernandez, our associate planner and current project manager for this project, will do the presentation. Debbie, as soon as you're ready, and we'll certainly, and staff will answer any questions you have afterwards. And then the applicant also has a presentation and opportunity to give information to the commission.
Okay, I'm going on mute, so we'll just go from there.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start this presentation with, it doesn't want to move. There. A background of the project, and it's related to the entitlements and what has subsequently been developed for, I believe, the entire commission. This commission was not present at the time that this particular project went through the process and went before Planning Commission, City Council. So just a little bit of background. The project did begin as a pre-app back in 2014 and was then filed in 2015. Following Planning Commission review and recommendation to the City Council approved in January of 2016 a general plan amendment from regional commercial to high density residential, a rezone from general office to plan development, and adopted the mitigated negative declaration that was prepared and mitigation monitoring and reporting program. For this particular site right here, most of my screen is being covered by your faces. Let's see if I can, in any case, I don't know if you could see my arrow. I think it's getting hit by
I can see.
the bar of Kieran's coming over here to clear that bar so I can move around the arrow. Minimize. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so we have the project site here. The property is south of Prune Ridge Avenue and on the west side of Winchester. It is surrounded by Walgreens, commercial development, an educational center here. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, a multifamily apartment project here, an educational center here, single family to the west, single family to the south, and Winchester Boulevard, oopsies, to the east. And then we have additional commercial on that east side. There's the paint store, there's multifamily apartments, and there's an office building. The site is less than a quarter of a mile from Valley Village to the north, another senior project, a large-scale senior housing project, and less than a quarter of a mile from West. I still refer to it as Valley Fair, which has the VTA transit facility and retail development on that Stevens Creek, Winchester corner. This is the project site today. It was developed on this 1.86 acre site. There's a bit of a typo there. It's referred to as Santana Terrace Apartments. It was entitled as a senior housing project and constructed as a senior housing project. Age restricted at 55 years and older. There's a total of 92 units at a density of 50 units to the acre, consistent with the general plan designation of that amendment. It is 3 stories in the middle here. That scales down to 2 stories as it interfaces Winchester and the single family to the rear. It is over a podium. The garage parking is below the residential units, and there's surface parking and carports. The project is partially vacant. It is not fully occupied. There are 69 one-bedroom units, 23 two-bedroom units, 105 parking spaces, and that was related to the development, that particular ratio, 1.1 spaces per unit, given that it is a senior housing project and its proximity to transit. It has on-site amenities to serve the residents, which are located here in the middle. There's 2 separate buildings over this podium, recreational, passive recreational space. And then there are actually outdoor patio terraces on top of the second level as they interface Winchester and then the single family to the west. The request by the applicant, which is USA Properties Fund, is to rezone from plan development to eliminate the age restriction language for occupancy to the senior households age 55 or older, to allow residents of the project site by all ages and no longer to be age restrictive. The request stems from the economic hardship brought about by the pandemic and stated by the applicant, and shelter in place, which resulted in a decrease in demand in senior housing. Now, the applicant has a presentation and they will be elaborating on these dimensions, these considerations as part of their request. An environmental analysis specifically for traffic, a focus on traffic, was conducted in accordance with CEQA. An amendment to the adopted mitigated negative declaration was the final document produced for this rezone from PD to PD. Hexagon Transportation Consultants conducted not only a traffic generation analysis, a VMT analysis, and a parking supply and demand analysis for the to determine if and to what significance these had by the change in occupancy from senior households to residents of all ages. The trip generation and VMT findings revealed an additional 26 a.m. peak hour and 32 p.m. peak hour trips generated by the change, and less than the VTA, CMP, and VMT thresholds of significance. When they did the parking supply and demand analysis, they found the average parking demand of 4 neighboring general population housing developments, this was based on surveys and field observations, was 0.82 spaces per bedroom, where Santana Terrace Apartments provides 0.91 spaces per bedroom. It's useful information. Typically with our zoning ordinance, we refer to the parking ratios by unit count and not bedroom, but this is very helpful. So as I said, there was an addendum to the adopted M&D that was prepared, and it concluded that the modified project did not result in any new impacts not previously disclosed and would not result in a substantial increase in severity of any significant environmental impact mitigated to less than significant in the mitigated negative declaration. The issues that are that we're examining here in the analysis are general plan and zoning conformance as part of in looking at this request. The site was constructed at the development density of 50 units to the acre, as I indicated before, consistent with the high density residential and PD zoning. General Plan Policy 5.3.2-P6 stipulates provide adequate choices for housing tenure, type, and location, including higher density and affordability for low and moderate income and special needs households. The other applicable general plan policy that led to the approval of the project was it encourages senior and group residential facilities and affordable housing developments near neighborhood retail, support services, and transit facilities. There are no changes proposed in the residential density, building, parking, or site design in this proposal. Residence, as I said, residency at this time is restricted to 55 years and older and is partially occupied. The development predates the requirement for the provision of affordable housing units. At the time that this project was reviewed and approved, was only for sale residential projects that were subject to the 10% affordable housing requirement. It was, though, however, subject to the Parks and Recreational Land Ordinance and the Mitigation Fee Act, in which the developers paid 1.9 million in lieu fees for park fees. Staff does not have a recommendation on the developer's request to modify the project by removing the restricted occupancy requirement from senior households 55 or older to allow occupancy for residents of all ages. There are issues for consideration in your deliberations. They are, one, the appropriateness of the proposed zoning to adjust the age restriction for occupancy from seniors aged 55 or older to residents of all ages. Two, allowing the rezoning without providing parking at a ratio consistent with other market rate housing projects, which are in the range of 1.5 to 1.7 per unit. And three, allowing essentially a new project without provision of affordable units. Staff did, as I need to also note that staff did receive one letter of opposition. Actually, it was an email that came into to planning staff this morning from a resident currently occupying Santana Terrace Apartments. Opposition to the rezoning, the request for it to be changed to occupancy for all residents, and a request that it remain for seniors only. I should also note that notices were provided to property owners within, I believe we did 500-foot notice on this, and they were actually also provided to tenants. So it wasn't just property owners, but it was tenants of the development as well. With that, I've concluded my presentation. What will follow is a presentation by the applicants, which will be Eric Moray, Steve Gall, and Tippy Lambert. But I can answer any questions that you might have regarding my presentation.
I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
This is Commissioner Biagini. And I don't know if you have the answer for this. Is there a mix of sold units? I guess I'm trying to get my arms around, are they rent, lease, own, all of the above, any single one of the above? How does that play out in this development?
They are all rental units and they
Okay.
are, their request remains that they would still be rental units. These are
Okay.
not for sale. There's never been a map that
Okay.
has accompanied any of the requests. So there's no condo, no townhome, no,
Gotcha.
it is all rental.
And that's not going to change, or am I making an assumption?
There is no, at this time, there is no request for a change.
Okay. Okay.
I have a question too. This is Commissioner Casey. Was there any special consideration or made because this was a senior housing as opposed to housing for all ages?
In terms of what?
Approval conditions or any other
Well,
parameters of this project?
Yeah, well, for specifically for like the parking ratio, that was a consideration to reduce the
Oh.
parking ratio.
Oh, yeah, okay, that makes
Mhm.
sense. Anything
And
else?
to change the density to allow it to, because previously it was an office development. So the general plan amendment was changed in order to allow residential and the support of senior housing, which is something that is, an asset.
So the density is higher than what the city would have approved for the housing for all ages?
No, not necessarily, because the site had a regional commercial designation before, so there was no housing that was allowed on
Oh,
the site.
that's right. Okay, I understand. Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
If I could clarify or add one point though, that there is a general plan policy that states if you do senior housing, then there's no limit to density. So Debbie, what was the change? Because we did have to allow residential with the new general plan amendment, but it does have the provision that there isn't a limit when it's senior housing, and that's whether it's low income or market rate. So there's no provision. And then at the time, did you have a question?
No, I was going to say, I think Xander could probably answer that. My understanding was it had no residential component to it, so it would have had to have been changed to some type of residential.
Yes. Yeah. And that was, the other factor is because they're only rental units, at the time the project was approved, they weren't subject to the affordable housing requirement. That was only on a for sale project at the time. Now it includes both rental and for sale units.
And one just additional point in response to Commissioner Casey's question. This was designated a senior housing development. There is a special provision in our parkland dedication ordinance for senior housing. If it's a senior housing development, you can get a 15% credit against the amount of parkland fees that you would otherwise be required to provide. But it is discretionary whether the city provides that or not. For this project, we did not provide that credit. So they actually did not get a special credit when it comes to parkland for being a senior project.
Okay, thank you. So to summarize, the only difference from an ordinary rental project was the parking requirement. Did I get that correct? Well, but it was a commercial, so okay, understood. Thank you very much.
All right, I have Commissioner Chirikuru had her hand up also, so and then I'll go on mine.
Thanks, Chair. And most of my questions were answered, but did want to ask, maybe Xander, you can help. Is there a difference financial credits possible for a senior housing application versus a regular rental housing project outside of the realm of city approvals?
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry. What do you mean by?
Are there financial incentives for a developer when it's a senior housing project outside of the city realm? I mean, we don't look at the financials, but I'm just trying to understand the ability of people to call in for a senior housing application, get financial incentives, loans, credits.
I think I'll have to defer to the planners and the developer on that one. I'm afraid I'm not an expert on that.
Yeah, that's not really our purview, so we really don't get involved in that aspect of it. So that, yeah, if you want to ask the developer, they can, if they choose to volunteer that information, but I'm not aware of anything because this was a market rate housing project from the beginning, even though it was geared towards seniors. And so it's not like you can get, tax credits or anything, avail yourself of anything that's available through the affordable housing, loan or grant program, that kind of thing, or any type of financial applications that would be sponsored by a government agency.
And to follow up on Commissioner Ikezi's question on parking, what would have been the normal ratio? You said 1.7 for every unit versus what it is today?
Well, under the parking ordinance, it's 2 per unit, but typically these projects are coming in as a PD zoning, which allows for deviations in the development standards, one of which would be parking, and we usually have, there's justifications for reducing those, whether it's TDMs, they have proximity to transit, the type of population that would be inhabiting it. So, but by ordinance, it's 2 per unit.
Was this one of the applications that I'm only vaguely recollecting this, that we also requested the VTA bus stop to move closer to this because of its senior housing component? And I could be recollecting wrong.
Not with this particular project. There was a
Okay.
discussion at Planning Commission, either Planning Commission or City Council, about a potential shuttle. Let's see if I could find that excerpt. Oh, it was from the planning. I'm reading from the minutes of December 2015. The commission asked if shuttle service would be provided for residents. The applicant stated that on-site shuttle service will be based on community needs and will be established once the residents move in. Parking studies were conducted, and as a result of the findings, the parking ratio was set at 1.1 to 1.
So was that a condition of approval?
No.
Just a clarification on the actual
Correct.
discussion? Okay. I think I have my questions answered. I'll have questions for the developer later. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, well, I'll go next, and then Commissioner Bhatnagar can come up on the end here. I'm concerned and worried that the original tenants, which were brought in with the promise of a 55 and older lifestyle within this development, will have to face this change without any input directly for or against, other than in this meeting. And they made the decision to move there consciously with the understanding that they were moving to a facility geared to their age group or to remain that age group. It seems odd that we could pull the rug out from under them right now and just say anybody can go in there that wants to. It's different lifestyles, different expectations, different amenities for younger residents than it is for the senior residents. So I have a general concern. I'm looking forward to hearing the presentation by the applicant. But I'm just giving you some feedback on my general concerns. Commissioner, would you please help us with your pronunciation of your last name so that we can get this right going forward, please? Thank you.
Chair, you're doing just fine. Bhatnagar or Bhatnagar is fine and perfectly acceptable. There's no problem. How you're saying it is just fine. Thank you.
All right. So go ahead with your questions.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So the question to the presenter here would be, it seems to me that when this project was considered and approved by the city, there were several changes that were allowed. The changes to the general plan and the zoning changes. That would indicate to me that the city felt there was a significant need to have senior housing in our space, in our city space. Is that a misconception? or is that a reality that we as a city do need to provide or consider senior housing as an important measure of our progress?
Well, as the general plan states, a variety of tenure and housing types is critical to the needs of the city residents. Certainly senior housing, especially as the population ages, is a need. I'm sure it was a consideration in the decision-making, the recommendation by Planning Commission, as well as the decision-making by the city council, and its specific proximity to, service uses that are walkable, then that create a more viable, functioning, living experience.
Yes, thank you. And in the light of that, the idea that the staff has no recommendation seemed a little, I was a little surprised by it. Would you care to explain?
Well, the project's was entitled, it's constructed, and we're providing the background and the facts of the development for your consideration. It will be going to city council. It will be city council's final, they'll take the final action.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, hi. So that is something to keep in mind for all of our meetings going forward. We're recommending. We are not a deciding body on this. We provide an opinion. It goes to city council, and their vote makes it the official result. So when you think about voting for or against something, remember we're voting for or against a recommendation for or against. Yeah, that I share your concerns and I share your questions. And I think without other hands raised, we might want to go ahead and hear the applicant's presentation and then move on to public hearing and other questions.
Now, I'm not sure who's going to be the presenter of
Yes,
PowerPoint presentation coming forward, but you'll be able to go. Is that Eric?
it is. Good
Hi,
evening.
Eric. You could go ahead and do your presentation through your own computer. And that way you won't have to tell me to next slide, if you're comfortable with that.
Yes, Ms. Fernandez, that would be fine. I'll go ahead and load it up.
Okay, and we'll take mine off screen
Okay.
so that you can, perfect. There you go. Thank you.
And Eric, as applicant, you'll have 10 minutes for your presentation.
Great, thank you.
Okay, are you ready now?
I am ready now. Great, thank you, Chair Salem and Chair-elect Biagini. Thank you very much for having us this evening. And my name is Eric Morley with the Morley Brothers. We are real estate advisors to USA Properties. We've been involved in the project since 2014, since its inception. And we're also a registered lobbyist for USA per city code. And I just wanted to first thank the commission for setting the special meeting this evening, given the urgency and severity of the issues that we are facing and have been facing for nearly a year and a half now. What I'd like to do is go ahead and introduce both Stephen Gall, Executive Vice President of USA Properties, and also Tippy Lambert, Vice President of USA. Steve will provide a little bit of background on the company and the project itself, and then Tippy will talk about the leasing summary and the impacts related to COVID-19. Obviously, none of us ever anticipated the global and local ramifications at all levels to COVID-19 or as a result of that. And so we're here this evening to share with you an update on where we are and the rationale for the age modification request. So with that, Steve, I'll turn it over to you. And if you could unmute Steve, I'll have him just provide a little bit of background on USA and where they come from in terms of their commitment to both affordable senior and market rate housings. Steve.
Thank you, Eric. Hopefully you can all hear me. USA, our company was founded in 1981. We're celebrating our 40th year this year. We're very proud of that. We're essentially a family business. We have developed and owned and managed roughly 100 apartment communities across California and Nevada. We have a portfolio of about 12,000 apartment homes. Our focus is in the area of affordable housing, senior housing, and market rate housing, for which this project is both senior and market rate. In the senior realm, we own and manage approximately 7,100 apartment units, making up roughly 50% of our 100 communities at 50 communities. So we have a tremendous experience in senior housing, and we're very proud to have brought this project for senior housing to the city. And as Eric explained, we find ourselves in a situation where COVID-19 has really hindered the ability for this project to be viable, and which is why we're here before you this evening. In addition to Santana Terrace, we also own what's known as Parcel 24 in the Tasman East specific plan area, and we will be doing 150 units of 100% affordable housing there. That project is slated to begin construction next year. We've been working closely with the city on that and the financial package to make that a viable affordable housing community. We have our own foundation, JB Brown Fund, where we raise money for our residents that we give to them in the form of educational scholarships and sports scholarships. In the case of seniors, general assistance for medical equipment or whatnot. And we're very proud to have raised and distributed close to $2 million or over $2 million in that through that foundation. So we're with that, I'd like to just run through this real quick. We were approved in 2016, completed last year. Very small units, 75% 1 bedrooms, 25% 2 bedrooms. We have very proud of our fitness and community space, the pool. If Eric could just run through that. There's the community room. There's our resident kitchen. This is our rooftop deck that we're very proud of. It has views in almost every direction of the city and the surrounding county. And for that, I will pass it on in the limited amount of time we have left to my colleague, Tippy Lambert, who is in charge of the operations of this community. Tippy.
Thank you, Steve and Eric. Good evening. My name is Tippy Lambert. I've been with USA Properties for just under 3 years. Prior to that, I was with the Irvine Company for just under 20 years, have been in the industry in the operational world of multifamily for more than I care to admit. As everyone said, we started pre-leasing this community back in March of 2020. So we're closing in on a year and a half into this. We officially opened our doors up June of 2020. We started an aggressive advertising and campaign back in March, as it's pretty common to pre-lease in advance of opening. We've had to move to more aggressive advertising and concession usage and even rate drop due to the lack of interest. And, you know, we do attribute it to the COVID environment where, you know, seniors especially were coached and asked to shelter in place to avoid exposure to COVID-19, which is certainly understandable, but unfortunate for this community. We are only 20 units, 20 resident units occupied out of the 92 units after being a year and a half into this project. And in terms of comparing it to a standard what we call general occupancy, meaning there's no age restriction community, a project like this would normally be leased up in 3 to 4 months. Most of our competitors that have been operating through the COVID-19 environment, they've been leasing generally anywhere from 3 to 35 units a week. The 3 is on the low end of a stabilized, fully occupied community. The lease ups are generating as up to 35 units leases per week, whereas we're generating 2 leases per month at this rate. And if we continue down this path, it's going to take 2.5 years to finish this community. There just hasn't been the interest in the 55 plus demographic, and our competitors are seeing the same thing. The majority of all of their leases are under that 55 mark. So with that, low occupancy, the other thing that we all know is when a building or community is vacant, it tends to invite crime. We've had our fair share. We've had 10 incidents thus far, ranging from theft off of residents' patios to vandalism of vehicles. We've even had vehicles stolen. And there is some homeless that are coming on to the site just because it's dark mostly at night. There's not a lot of occupancy. And so we're challenged with that. We've added additional security as well as changed our security cameras. So we've added additional costs there. And it's just been a tough go, to having only 20 occupied units a year and a half into this really, tells a story that the seniors are just not willing to move right now, that they're not interested in relocating or coming into movement of their home right now.
And Tippy, I would also add that, we have had strong interest in those potential residents, below 55. So 156 residents have expressed interest in, occupying. We have 70 vacant units today. We do get leases, but very often it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back. A lease is not effective until somebody moves into the unit. So while we may get people that say, I want a lease, we're finding that we do get lease cancellations as well. We did have several opportunities to meet personally and individually with each of the residents of Santana Terrace, as well as surrounding neighbors. We've met with 27 residents. We've heard from 3 directly raised concerns about the 55 age modification. The balance have expressed either support or neutrality as to that. We certainly understand the concern of those few residents and have indicated that we would work with those residents, honor those leases for those who've expressed that concern. But today, in the midst of COVID, even with mass vaccinations, we still have not seen a massive increase in, even since April of this year, in leasing activity or interest, or occupancy. And we have 70 units that continue to be vacant in the midst of COVID. With the Delta variant and others, we're still not seeing those seniors. So we expect this to be ongoing, and our competitors are seeing the same over time. And in the midst, obviously, of a housing crisis, we have a brand new building with units that could be occupied. But what we're proposing is that the modification occur and that we include conditions of approval. As Stephen said, the company manages some 7,000 and owns 7,000 senior units. And so we would propose a condition of approval that we be required to continue to target, market, and advertise to older residents, maintain the operations that are targeted to older residents, including the amenities and programs, and have an annual report that we would submit to the city to the satisfaction of the community development director for conformance to that. Because we certainly, some of our residents have said, well, just wait a little more time. We've been having this discussion since the end of last year with the city, and we're really at a breaking point and don't want the property to continue to deteriorate further, and be able to have these units be available during this continued housing crunch. So with that, would be happy to Steve or Tippy take any questions from the commission, or even answer some of the early questions that you might have had, related to tax credits or others.
Okay. I think, though, that the next step actually is to go ahead and open this to public comment, and then we can iterate through some of their questions and hopefully at this point try and get everything understood amongst all of the people involved. Okay. Elizabeth, are there any public speakers queued up?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. First, it would be appropriate to ask if any commissioners have questions for the developer.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry. You should get a new chair. I really mean it.
It's okay. You're new at this.
I know. I've only done it for a year. Yeah, there apparently are a couple of hands up. Commissioner Hong and then Commissioner Biagini.
Hi. First, thank you, Chair. I really appreciate your service. Yeah, you did a good job. The question I have to the applicant is this the first time you guys do the conversion, or do you have any experience before? Convert from senior to general public? Thank you.
So I'll go ahead, Steve, if you could respond to that question.
Yeah, the answer is no, Commissioner. We have never found ourselves in a situation where the seniors that when we targeted this project originally, we identified strong demand for it through several independent market studies. And we have never been in, which we've had in previous projects, but we've never been in a situation where an external environmental factor, in this case, COVID-19, has prevented those seniors from wanting to step out and rent. So no, the answer to your question is no.
Okay, thank you. First I tried to, sorry, actually I tried to disclose. I had a Zoom meeting with USA property on last Thursday. I also visited the apartment on Sunday morning. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Biagini and then Commissioner Casey.
Thank you, Chair. And for disclosure, I was emailed a request to meet, but I demurred. I preferred to hear it at the meeting tonight. So absolutely understand the COVID-related issues that have created a nightmare for pretty much anybody this past year. But here's my question to the applicant. How much would the cost to rent or lease increase if the age restriction is removed?
So I'll start. We and USA, keeps an eye on the market, on a daily, weekly basis. So, they're tracking all of the general occupancy, and we continue to be, we are, and will continue to be, regardless of whether there's an age restriction or not, at the low end or bottom of that, because we are having a massive leasing, issue. And so, Steve, you can, address that as well. We don't anticipate seeing a modification in pricing. We're not even close to that. We're simply just trying to actually get occupancy, not even thinking about pricing. It's 5 steps back from there. But Steve, you can talk to that as well.
No, you agree with that statement. I don't believe that there's going to be any change in pricing as we make this change.
Yeah, and
again,
I can chime in as well. We do a market survey every single week, and we price in alignment with the current market, no matter what demographic it is. So even the non-age restricted communities, we always compare their pricing with ours.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing on this question, on this issue? Again, our focus is to try to lower the age that we target, not to bring it down to 20s and 30-year-olds, but to capture the 40s and the 45-year-olds and the 50-year-olds that currently are unable to rent in our community. And we are, as Eric mentioned at the end of our presentation, committed to the continued operation and focus and targeting to the older demographic. And so that's what part of why we don't believe that there's going to be any change in the pricing per se.
Okay. And then I have one other question. Whoever wants to answer it. When did that banner that indicated it was senior housing, when did that banner come down?
This is Tippy. I'm the operations. The banner shouldn't have come down. We did change them out, so it was down for about a week or so, but it's been replaced. We are advertising solely that we are 55 plus.
Ah, because I remember the banner up, but maybe I haven't driven
There's a
by often
banner on the
enough.
side of the building. It used to be on the front, but we moved it to the side so that when the Winchester traffic was coming down, it was more visible.
I must have missed it. All right, those are all my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kesey.
Thank you, Chair. If you were to convert this to all age rental, how do you propose to address the parking in the lower than normal parking spaces?
Yes, Commissioner Kesey, very good question. We have the same question ourselves. And maybe I'll pull up a slide. Just bear with me here, see if I can find it. Give me just a second. But we actually assessed that as well. Here we go. And I'll just share up a slide here. Oh, here it is. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes, it shows Q&A.
Yeah, so we wanted to know the answer to that question as well. And so Hexagon Transportation Consultants, one of the top transportation, both traffic and parking consultants in the region, who both the private sector and the public sector rely on, including the city of Santa Clara. We wanted them to tell us what is the, I apologize, I'm being sustainable. My lights just went off when I wasn't moving, so I'm coming back here.
I can see you really well, thank you.
So we ended up, what we did was, this is not a typical apartment building, and neither are essentially many that are coming forward. Virtually no project today that comes forward comes to code, and the reason is there's just not, that's way too much supply and not enough demand. But we wanted to look at it for this project because it's 69 one-bedrooms and 23 two-bedrooms. There are no 3-bedroom units, and these are generally smaller units. And so Hexagon did an analysis of the 4 projects you see on the screen today to share with us what is their demand, actual demand and supply. And so what we found is that the comparable parking demand by bedroom for general occupancy, so those apartments that are nearby that are rented to all ages, that average is 0.82 spaces per bedroom. We actually have more than the competitive set. We're at 0.91 spaces per bedroom. And so, so we feel obviously very comfortable. In addition to that, USA manages very aggressively and sets expectations early and as part of the lease as to the number of vehicles that are allowed. So I just wanted to give you this table from Hexagon with their very local Santa Clara based analysis to demonstrate their conclusion was that that there was sufficient supply to meet the general occupancy designation.
Thank you. This commission is very familiar with Hexagon's work. We've seen this on many projects. We've seen in recent years. And yes, you're right. The parking requirements we have approved projects at less than 2 spaces per unit in recent years because of the reduced demand that other hexagon studies have shown. However, so I mean that's an updated standards that we've been applying, but included in among the more recent standards is the affordable housing component, which you were not required to do when this project was approved. But you know, you're asking for more updated standard be applied for parking. But you know, if that were the case, I would incline to ask, well, you know, this is a whole package. Your rental is in a community where we have an acute housing shortage, especially affordable components. So could there be any thoughts on offering affordable housing? It's something that I'd like to ask other commissioners how they feel about this. Secondly, if not, you know, I do understand the market situation. The rental market is very, very, very bad. I understand that because I have friends in the rental business. But this is temporary. And over the long haul, we are going to have needs for senior housing. Is there any interest in, you know, if we were to accept this your proposal to make it a limited time solution? Maybe, you know, in the next 2 years when you sign new leases, that you keep it open, you make it open to everybody. But after 2 years, you go back to only signing leases with senior people who are 55 or older.
That's a great question. And if I could just respond to that, I think you are on a track that when we initially met with your professional staff at the city attorney, fair housing attorneys, that's exactly the direction that we wanted to go. And what we found very quickly is that really under fair housing law, a community needs to be statutorily 55 plus or general occupancy. So the age requirement of under and over. What would occur is that, but a community can't be a hybrid at any one time. It can't be some 55 and some others. So if we were to do a temporary, we would move residents in, but then at one point in time, and through a condition of approval, the city would be in a position 2-3 years from now of displacing all of those residents. And so, you know, it's in some respects, it would be kicking that can down the road. We didn't want to be in a position, nor, you know, the city, of having to, you know, displace or, you know, evict residents down, you know, 2 years from now. So that was the feedback we received from our fair housing, you know, attorneys and discussions with the city, and that's what generated this request. But you're right, we did look at that, and then I can wait if you want to hear from other commissioners as it relates to affordability. I think I will just share, and Steve, you can comment, you know, the economics of this community are severely compromised today. And so as I think Steve shared, you know, USA Properties is currently a partner with the city to build 150 units of all affordable in Tasman East. I think had we requested or had that been part of the discussion early on when we were originally in the process, we could have at least, you know, addressed that. But at this point in the process, having, you know, additional financial burdens placed on the project would send it further in the wrong direction. While I mean, obviously, USA is in the affordable housing business. We certainly recognize that. But Steve, do you want to share any insights to that as well?
Well, you've got that right, Eric. Is that you know, we're hurting pups here financially with this COVID-19 issue that we've got, and introducing the affordable housing would just exacerbate our issue.
Yeah, I'm very sympathetic to that. I think the rents have been dropping 10%, 20%. I don't think the average mean income in the Bay Area has been dropping at the same rate. So, signing up for affordable housing, it's not going to be the affordable housing price is not going to be hugely different from the rent that you're going to be able to charge right now. And once you get out of this recession, then your market rate apartment prices will go up. But maybe you can keep a few units at affordable house prices. So I understand the short term, everybody's hurting, but your rents are low anyway because you can't charge the rate that you used to be able to in 2019. Affordable housing, the parking requirements are lower, I believe. So I'd like to check with the staff on firstly about hybrid not being allowed, and what is the parking requirement for the affordable housing. I yield. Thank you very much, Chair.
Mr. Chair, would you like me to respond to that?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, Commissioner Casey, I actually do agree with the applicant on this point with regards to the hybrid. We did actually hash it out with them over the course of several meetings, and I did some research on my own. And essentially what it comes down to is under the fair housing laws, there is simply no mechanism for a hybrid development. It either has to be all senior or all mixed age. As you're well aware, there are a variety of categories on which we can't discriminate when it comes to housing, things like race and religion and gender, and of course, age. There's a narrow exception for age if it's a senior housing development and it meets all of the requirements of a senior housing development. You can't have a haphazard decision, well, okay, this person, I think I'll rent this apartment to people who are 43 and up, and then the next door will be 57 and up. And no, it has to fit very specific statutory guidelines. It has to either be 55 and up or 62 and up. And there are certain physical requirements that have to be met for the development. The problem is once you go from senior to all mixed, you've got this hybrid development that doesn't meet the requirements for senior housing development. You can't have some people in it be underage and the rest be senior. So you would either have to kick everyone out as of a certain date and then start again with only seniors, or you would have to just keep it mixed age permanently. So I wish there was a simple solution where we could just push a temporary button, but it's got to be all or nothing here. Either it's all senior permanently or it's all mixed permanently, unless you want a mass eviction, which would not be a desirable outcome.
Thank you. And what about parking?
I'm going to defer to the planners on that.
I'm sorry, parking for affordable housing.
Commissioner Casey, I can answer that. We have a variation. It has been about 1 per unit. So I know the applicant did the study and had that study done, but they're applying it a little bit differently than we would do it for a development. We attribute parking spaces per unit, not by bedroom. But I think they're trying to demonstrate that the parking supply would meet and be sufficient for the unit count and the unit types. So that's really for you to decide. The evidence is there, but it is, like I said, information for you to weigh.
Okay, I hear you. Thank you. If I may make one last comment, we have a lot of developments coming up in that corner of the city. We have the Agri-Hood. We already have a lot of housing, and when I think Agri-Hood came up in front of the commission, neighbors came, and if I remember, they were worried about parking already. So if we have reduced the park. So what the applicant is proposing, I do have a little bit of a concern. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I had my hand up too, so I'm going to go next, and then we'll have Commissioner Bhatnagar. I think I'm having a lot of trouble with the fundamental reason for this, the COVID crisis. Right now, we're coming out of the COVID crisis. We have 82% vaccination within the county. It's like we're cursing how dark it is just as the sun's coming up. So to depend completely on COVID as a reason to make this big change now is missing the point that as now that COVID's over, well, or at least diminishing dramatically, there should be an influx and a rise in interest. If this had come to us a month later, it wouldn't make any sense. But right now, I am stuck on that, whether or not to give full credence to the COVID concern or to say, please wait a little bit longer. But I know waiting is a financial hardship. I would just like other commissioners to think about whether they equally believe that this may not be the COVID crisis that is the fundamental reason that all of this change is happening. I think it's really the economic downturn, the post-COVID issues. And the post-COVID issue is that people aren't making big leases on apartments. Although there is still a housing shortage, there doesn't seem to be a huge move for seniors to senior housing. So without real hard statistics on that segment of the resident population, I can't make a clear judgment or a clear opinion. So hopefully this professional staff at the city or others can jump in and say, yes, we're going to have more seniors, or no, we're not going to have more seniors. And it's almost a crystal ball sort of opinion on that. Okay, I don't want to ramble. I want to give an opportunity to Commissioner Bhatnagar and Bhatnagar. I'll get it. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Really appreciate it. First of all, I think to the applicants, your commitment to senior housing and serving the communities here is very clear, right? 7,000 plus apartments out of the 12,000 that you have built and so forth. So that's truly appreciated. And the scholarships that you provide and so forth, and this particular community itself that you built. And certainly your pain can be felt, right? It's reasonable, it's logical, and we see that you've made a lot of efforts to try and get the units rented out as soon as possible. I do think though that in these really trying times, what comes to mind is the only true test of the strength of our convictions, the strength of our beliefs that you profess and you can prove is really the amount of pain we are prepared to bear for those beliefs and for those convictions, right? So I feel a little bit in concert with the chair that it seems that other for example, airlines, salons, if we were to go to them and ask them, how has your senior clientele business come back? Not just general business, which is also lagging. What would they say, right? So they are also suffering through this recovery. Now, the key term here being recovery. And, the idea that we are, saying it's too dark right before it's about to be dawn seems to appeal to me. I don't know if the applicants have any rebuttal to that idea. Not just that we waited long enough. It's just that, it's a case of, once again, quoting the chair, that it appears to be coming dawn and we are still saying that the night is too dark. So I have another question, but I'll wait to hear if you have any thoughts on that.
Steve, maybe, or Tippy, maybe I'll just thank you for your comment and your thoughts. I think it's 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night in terms of where we are today, in this market. We have very good, strong data from all of the other general occupancy communities on a weekly basis that are saying not only that 55 and over aren't coming out, we actually haven't seen any major uptick even since the beginning of the year. There's no trend line that we're seeing, and we have 2.5 years worth of occupancy to catch up at our current rate. And so we wouldn't be before you. We take this very seriously. We wouldn't be before you if it wasn't serious, if it wasn't urgent at this stage in the process. And Steve, you can.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, Eric, is that as Tippy pointed out in her presentation, the general occupancy community rebound has occurred and the senior has not. And you know, I understand that this isn't, you know, some of this is, we don't have studies to present to you, but that's what we're seeing. We also have anecdotal evidence that this has affected not just our project, but other new senior housing communities that have opened across the Bay Area have had a similar experience. And so we offer that as evidence that the situation is isolated to seniors, and notwithstanding the positive vaccination rates that we have experienced, that has not shown to be a significant change in behavior that has occurred since those vaccinations have happened, and the seniors were one of the earlier groups to get vaccinated. So you know, we're not, that's not changing, that's not affecting behavior at this point.
Okay, thank you. I understand. I think one other point to make here is that, you know, we were discussing this with the planning department that had made the presentation earlier. The need is certainly there, right? We all agree, and that's the reason why this unit was built. These apartments were built. So it's now only a question of the seniors coming out of any kind of a shock, whether it's a health shock, whether it's a financial shock, whether it's a COVID shock. You can imagine that their response times are going to be longer than the normal population. That's a given. So the only question is, you know, the rate at which they are going to be able to accommodate such changes. Is that going to be able to help, you know, in the time scales that you're looking at, help this particular property get occupied? So let me ask a detailed question, something that we were told by one of your residents. Is it true that in the last month or so, there are 4 or 5 new apartments have been leased?
Yeah, we've been leasing on average 2 leases. This month was the first. June, we had 2 leases the entire month. This month we've had 5, but we already have 1 cancel. We could have additional cancel. That's what happens every month, unfortunately, is that we'll lease. We are spending a lot of money to drive the senior traffic. We'll lease and then they'll cancel out. There is a concern still out there with them. They think they want to move and then they change their mind and they decide to stay put.
So just to clarify, I think this is important. When someone says you've signed 4 leases or a number of leases, there's a big difference between signing a lease and having someone ultimately occupy that unit. That lease becomes effective the day that person occupies. And so there's this constant churn of lease cancellation, one may stick. And so, you know, we've been very transparent with those residents, those few residents who've asked about what the occupancy. What we know is that after 1.5 years, the occupancy is 20 units plus the model and the manager's unit. And we haven't seen that trend line move dramatically even since April when we had mass vaccinations. So I hope that clarifies the communication you received from one of the residents.
And even at 4 leases per month, it's significantly below our competitors that are in lease up right now that are not age restricted are leasing anywhere from 24. One of them leased 43 leases last week. They're increasing rents. It's a big difference from what we're seeing, significant difference.
Yes, thank you. And for the purpose of this commission, I just wanted to clarify that I did meet with the applicants at their request last Friday over a half-an-hour remote session where they helped me understand what the situation was. And thank you, Chair.
That's fine. I got contacted as well, but I wasn't able to meet. So I think we'll do Nancy, then Commissioner Casey, then Commissioner Hong again. I want to make sure that we don't spend a huge amount of time on this without allowing publics an opportunity to speak. But let's go through this round again. Okay. Commissioner Biagini.
Thank you, Chair. I absolutely want to thank the applicants because I appreciate the concern and the conviction from a family-based USA properties towards the issue of affordable housing, which is so important. The planning department has asked that we consider three basic issues, right? The appropriateness of the age restrictions, allowing rezoning for parking, similarly allowing a new project without appropriate affordable percentages. Those are things to consider when we look at this proposal. Here's where I'm coming from. It's a really tough call, but perhaps it's a benefit, maybe it's a curse, having been born and raised in Santa Clara. It's not the first time I've heard that seniors don't want to move. And actually, my experience has been they would love nothing better than to move away from a single family resident that requires yard work, that requires walking or a ride, even to get to public transportation. They'd love nothing better than to have a smaller place without yard work, walk downstairs, and you're right there on a transit corridor. And that's where I see this particular complex very favorably situated for seniors. So there's other issues that I have. I think that, yes, COVID has been a serious problem for everyone. But I think Chair Salam really had a wonderful way of putting it. It's like kind of darkest before the dawn. And I think, Tippy, your comments kind of bear that out, even though it's a little bit of a crystal ball, right? We don't know how many of these leases are going to be canceled, but there was more interest now. I see that happening here. With all due respect, maybe there's a little better marketing to attract those seniors that haven't been able to get out to even see banners and signs and know where there's senior housing available for them. I think people that are already there, they came there with an understanding that it was going to be a senior community. That's important. That the requested changes in your proposal provide opportunities that, and again, please forgive me, I don't mean this to sound so hard, but it favors financial advantages, so to speak, for USA properties with respect to parking. In other words, it would be a whole lot different if it was being built now, and the parking is an issue out there. With respect to the affordability percentages, if it was built now, it would include rents and it would be 15%, not 10%. And you're in a rental, so you didn't even have to go to the 10%. But again, appreciating the fact that you do have a conviction for affordable housing. But those are all factors that play into this for me. And what I keep coming back to is when it comes to, I'm not sure the right term to use, a bit of financial help. I'm not sure that if we said, okay, here, are we going to have anybody else out there who's interested in senior housing coming back and saying, hey, wait a minute. I mean, you made an exception here. Can you make an exception there? That may not be as big of a deal, But what I do keep coming back to is during this trying time we've been through with COVID-19, we see the dawn approaching. So who do we help financially, so to speak, and at whose expense? Do we help the developer who's clearly, having some big issues? But are we doing that at the expense of seniors that may not recognize or been reached out to enough about the ability to move to a place that's more suitable for them? That's where I keep coming back to. So I don't know if the applicant has other comments to make with respect to how I see things, but that would conclude my comments at this point. Back to you, Chair.
Yeah, I invite them to respond and then we'll move on.
Yeah, Steve, I'll start, and just a couple of clarifications that are attached to this. Someone had asked a question prior to Chair-elect Biagini about, can you get a tax credit or financing, and that you can't. This is not an affordable project, so there's not the availability of tax credit. And then the project was not afforded additional density. It complies with the city's general plan designation density as a result of being 55 and over. And Steve, I'll let you maybe share your perspective on Chair-elect's thoughts.
Well, I can say that I've been, I started the presentation by saying that we've celebrated our 40th year of operations. I have been involved with USA for 37 of those 40 years. So, and have personally worked on all 50 of those senior housing projects, those 7,100 units of senior housing that we have built and have been so very, very proud of over the course of many, many years. For exactly the reasons you described, Commissioner Biagini, about people moving out of their single family homes and moving into one of our communities and basically getting a new lease on life because of the social aspect of the senior apartments. That's what we're selling. That's what we sell in the senior apartment space. And which is why this project, quite honestly, has been such a grand disappointment to us. And we feel at our company that it's already 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. The dawn has happened, and we're not seeing any change. And so I appreciate the analogy of, it's darkest before the dawn. I get up and walk my dog in the morning, and sometimes in the winter, it's definitely darkest right before it gets light. But in this instance, we feel the dawn has already occurred, and we're not seeing it. And it's really uncertain as to when that's going to change. And as Eric pointed out, we are having issues with some crime, and that's because the building is empty. And we're partners in that, in terms of making sure that an asset like this is not a problem in the community from a crime standpoint. That's why we're requesting the relief that we're requesting. We still believe in senior housing. We still believe that down the road there may be an opportunity for senior housing in Santa Clara, projects similar to this one. But this one is really in an unsustainable situation now. And I appreciate all the comments that you commissioners have offered relative to concern for the seniors, concern for your community, all of it. I understand it. But the untenable position that we're in really requires that we would achieve some kind of resolution to our situation. And so we appreciate your earnest consideration.
Eric, might I add a couple clarifying things to a couple of the questions? I will share with you that we've spent just under $250,000 on advertising specifically focused on the senior demographic. We've done direct mailers to homes in multiple counties throughout the Bay Area, trying to drive that traffic, especially with the thought that people are moving out of the San Francisco area maybe to lessen their costs. So we've been very, we've exhausted all of our options of trying to drive that senior demographic through the door, and continue to do so every week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's give Commissioner Hong a chance, and then Commissioner Casey, and then we'll open it for public.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I went to the site Sunday morning. I saw the empty parking lots. My feeling is also my first question to the applicant is this the first time you guys try to convert from 55 to all ages? The answer is yes. So my feeling is probably they really tried very hard, but more than a year, still no result. So I do support the applicant. And another thing is, when they built the apartment, they didn't get any financial benefit for the 55 years and older. If we deny their application, so maybe in the future they just don't want to build apartment for 55 years and older, because they didn't get any benefit and they made themselves in trouble. So same time, California have housing crisis, right? People need housing, and all those units right now is just vacant. I just don't feel good about that. That's it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Casey?
Thank you, Chair. I like to echo what Commissioner Wong just said. I am very concerned about what this applicant is going through. I know that the market is bad. We all know that the rental market has cratered. I have friends who are going through the same situations, and when the applicants were very open about the numbers, the lease numbers that they're showing, and it's bad. And I think that the city needs to take what they're saying very seriously, because they are willing to invest more in our community. I'm grateful that they already built this rental complex, but they're also coming back at Zanker, Tasman East, which is going to be a very important housing project for the city. And so when they say that they have a problem, I really take it very seriously. And I think that's the reason why they requested for emergency meeting that we're having today. When if we were to agree to the applicant's request, we are going to lose housing. Okay, so you know, and restricting your tenants to 55 and older, it's just the sheer number. You're limiting the pool of potential applicants when the market is already really, really bad, and you're limiting to a certain fraction of that market, then of course you're going to have a problem. So if they say they need help, then, you know, I think we need to listen to their requests very seriously. I also hope that we can make some compromise here. If we're giving up senior housing, can we do affordable housing? Maybe not the 10% that we require now, but, you know, can we come up with some numbers? You know, if this is something that we can discuss, I'd be very grateful, because over the long term, we need housing for seniors, but we also need affordable housing. And this is near Valley Fair. It's going to be close to a lot of jobs. This is going to be a great place to have affordable housing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see Commissioner Bhatnagar's hand up. Is there one last comment?
There is one last comment.
Okay.
Make it now. Thank you, Chair. Very quickly, just to put some things in perspective by numbers so that we can kind of relate to them a little bit more concretely. They have said they have 12,000 apartments that they've built and leased and rented, and however they've dealt with them, 7,000 plus of them being for seniors. Keep in mind that this is a 92 unit building, of which 20%, about 20 units are already leased. So there is pain, but that in that bigger world of what the company has been able to manage, and is this 150 unit affordable housing coming up as well. So there is that background within which there is this 92 unit complex where 20% of the units have already been rented. That's the magnitude, and just so we all keep that in mind. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Elizabeth or Gloria, do we need to open to public? I saw a couple hands under attendees.
Yes, we would like to move now. We can take public comment, and then the applicants would have a total of 5 minutes for rebuttal. So if anybody from the member of the public wants to speak, we have a 2-minute time limit per person.
I see Bill and then random number.
Okay, so I think Elizabeth or Kieran can allow each speaker. So we'll just go in order. You see the attendees. So the first number.
So the first person I'll be unmuting is the one with the name 462937.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, I'm a resident of Santana Terrace. In fact, I'm the first resident of Santana Terrace. They said they started leasing in March, pre-leasing in March. I didn't actually get a chance, although I did inquire earlier, I didn't get a chance to look at a unit until the end of June. I moved in the first week in August. I really moved into this unit because it was elderly housing, because it was 55 and older. I'm 66 years old. I really had other units in mind, but because I was told that this was going to be elderly housing, I wanted this because I didn't, at this point in my life, I wasn't looking for a mixed unit, especially in this neighborhood, because Santana Row has a party culture, and a lot of the buildings in this area, you know, have young people who are partying. You know, they have high-tech jobs and they come home at night and party. And I know that I know this has been very difficult for the owners of this building, and I appreciate, you know, I think it's a very nice building, but I have some differences with the way they interpret things. Yes, there has been problems with security. When I moved in, the builders had security who patrolled the grounds every night. And that went on for a little while, and that ended. And there was nobody to take its place for months. And I requested, and there was still nobody to take its place. They said that there was banners outside advertising the building for the past, I don't know, for like 4 to 6 months. Those banners were down. There's a lot of issues here. I know I don't have very long to speak, and I'm not very comfortable speaking in this way, but I think most of the residents, besides myself, don't want the status of this building to change. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Bill was next.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Bill Snyder, and I'm a neighbor. I own the office building across the street from the Santana Terrace. And I'm just participating because I'd like to voice my support for the modification. I'd like to see a thriving complex and neighborhood, and I don't like the idea of additional crime in our neighborhood. And that's about all I've got to offer.
Okay, we'll bank that minute for another time. Thank you. So I think Kirk Vartan is next.
Hi, thank you, Chair and Commission. Appreciate the time. I live in the neighborhood. I was around when I remember at the council meeting when this got presented. It was presented as a senior. That was one of its shining things. It was a senior only thing. That was one of its messages. I guess what I heard is, from seniors and non-seniors having different interests, that could provide a conflict of living conditions, especially with people that have the expectation of senior living. I would ask that you ask for a 15% affordable housing or with some deep affordability. If you're going to trade an economic benefit, there should be an economic benefit. I think the Commissioner Zucchi mentioned that if it was done today, it would require 10% affordable housing, higher parking. So there is economic benefit to one of the Commissioner's comments. There is economic benefit in when this was built because they did not have to build the parking, which I fully support not having to build that, but that is an economic benefit. And now you're changing the terms of the conditions. Further, if you do approve this, you should set this as a precedent and mandate for all future market rate, non-age restricted development to be built at parking requirements of 0.82. Because if that's allowed, it's allowed. You shouldn't discriminate against it. And I heard a comment that USA manages vehicles. I'm not really sure what that means, but I'd be really cautious of a comment like that about trying to manage people's personal property. When I hear, is this, have rents cratered? Is it a crater or correction? I'm looking at the website. It's $3,000 for a 1-bedroom. Seems kind of expensive. If you invested some of that marketing dollars into actually maybe reducing rent, you could maybe attract more people. The senior population is not reducing, it's accelerating. Maybe in 6 months, you'll see more leases. I hope that you take that into consideration, give it time. Otherwise, I fear you will set a precedent that you maybe not be meaning to set in terms of what you can and can't or should or shouldn't do. Thanks very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Are there other public speakers for this issue?
There are no other hands raised.
Okay, was there anything emailed or commented?
No comments received via e-comment.
Okay.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second, Priya.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, this is not yet the time to close public hearing. First, we need rebuttal.
I know, but I wasn't going to step on it.
Oh yeah,
I've learned the process enough to go. Okay, so we have an opportunity for rebuttal. Yes, thank you. I believe it's 5 minutes by the applicant.
And Chair, can I just clarify something? A couple of things that a couple of speakers, and I think Commissioner Casey mentioned. When I mentioned the 10% affordability, that was at the time the project was entitled. That was the requirement, and that only applied to for sale projects. At the current moment, if this were coming in as a new construction, it wasn't built, a brand new project, it would require, we have across the board 15% requirement for affordable units. Just want to make that distinction for everyone's clarification.
Thank you.
That's really important to keep in mind, because in effect, changing the designation is almost like reapproving the project as a different project. I know there's grandfathering in, and our attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like this is a moment when those additional requirements would be applicable. All right, please go ahead with a rebuttal if you have any.
The applicant does have 5 minutes.
Eric, you want to take the lead? Oh, Eric's muted. You're muted, Eric. There he is.
Yeah, thank you for unmuting. So yeah, just thank you again for your time this evening on this very difficult issue. I just wanted to respond to a couple of comments. I would defer to the city attorney and ask the city attorney to provide you guidance as it relates to requiring affordable housing for the project. So defer to city attorney. As it relates to Mr. Vartan, I know Kirk has been a strong advocate of integrated multi-generational living. So appreciate his work on seniors and non-seniors living together. And then I just wanted to share that, you know, we obviously are in the midst of this COVID crisis. And as Steve said, it continues. And we have had an opportunity to speak with all 27 residents that are there today. Certainly understand and appreciate Marcia's concern. The 3 residents who've expressed concern, the others have all expressed either support or neutrality as to the change. So I just wanted to be, crystallized there for the commission that we're obviously, wanting to work and continue to work with Marcia as needed. And then again, we see this as something that is ongoing and not abating. And the non-senior market is extremely active. We're just not seeing the senior market both at our community and at any other communities in the region. And so, Steve, with that, I'll turn it over to you. I just want to, thank the commission for your time, on this issue and request your recommendation this evening, given the urgency and severity of the issue. Thank you, Steve.
The only other thing I would offer, Eric, is that like everybody else in the valley, we have reduced rents significantly in order to garner rents, in order to garner tenants, and to no effect. And there really is. We believe that that's not our issue. Pricing is not our issue. We believe that it's people coming out. We have seen a number of people, as I mentioned, in that 40, 45, 50 category that have indicated interest in renting. Those are the people that we're attempting to capture with this move, and thus the commitment to market to the older demographic, as Eric opened with a condition of approval that we would be able to, that we would be willing to abide by. That's what I got.
And thank you again.
Thank you
for your time.
And thank you. I want to thank all the commissioners for their time and earnest consideration, and appreciate our time before you this evening.
I'm sorry to jump in, but would you care to comment about affordable housing?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the affordable housing at this point is really a difficult thing to entertain on the back of this project. If there's a conversation to be had where there's some kind of an economic situation to make units affordable, that we're not bearing the brunt, be it vouchers from the housing authority or something like this, we could probably entertain that. But to just out of hand make these units affordable at this stage of the game is going in the wrong direction economically.
Okay, are there any other commissioner hands other than mine?
Motion to close public hearing.
Okay,
Second, Priya.
going to call the roll on it, please.
Yes, I was just getting it prepared.
Okay.
The motion is to close public hearing. Commissioner Biagini. Yes. Commissioner Cherukuru.
Aye.
Commissioner Hero.
Yes.
Commissioner Wang.
Yes.
Commissioner Ikesi.
Yes.
Chair Salam.
Yes.
Commissioner Bhatnagar.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously. We can have one more or so round of conversation and direct questions. I got my hand up first this time. I've listened to the arguments and I've listened to the conversations, and I think it lost me a little bit at the fact that we haven't seen the situation abate. We're less than a month after the state reopened. To say that it hasn't abated, it's a little disingenuous to the situation, in the sense that we are just now abating. We are just now beginning to recover. It's not a cliff. It's not a vertical change where suddenly when the switch gets changed, everything gets back to pre-COVID standard. And I think it's a little eager and ambitious to suggest that we need to completely shift the project away from a senior living facility to financially try to infuse a big recovery for this facility. At 20% occupancy, it's not a giant loss. It's just a bleeder, and it needs to be corrected. And I agree, some kind of switch of focus, bringing the message out that this facility is available, I think is critical to getting some more seniors willing to move in. The rents of $3,000 a month are, I mean, I understand it, but that's not a senior living rent. That's not a fixed income. It's not somebody that, I don't expect it to be fully affordable, but I don't expect it to be that level. That's what I would expect from any condo or brand new development anywhere around where I'm at right now. And it seems unrealistic to think that this project is going to turn around overnight, and that we should make these dramatic moves instantly to try and make it happen even quicker. Perhaps if this was brought back in 3 months, then it would have a great deal more weight behind the argument that it's not improving, it's not getting better, it's nobody's coming in and renting. We've heard the facts that the number of leases have increased, even though they haven't moved in yet. To assume that going from 2 to 5 and is going to still remain 2 or less it seems also a bit pessimistic to the situation. So I don't feel favorable towards making this change at this point. Now let us listen to Commissioner Cherukuru.
Thank you, Chair. When I have held it back, there's a lot that will come forward in my statements. So I do want to first acknowledge the applicant for bringing forward this at an appropriate time. It is a woe that we recognize in the real estate market due to COVID. And it's applicable, like many of our other commissioners have stated, for commercial, for office, for general rental, and for affordable housing. But as again, the chair revealed, at $3,000 for a single family rental is not sustainable for a senior housing market. And to Tippy's comment earlier that the regular market has come back, yes, it will, because this is a niche. You do, when you came in as a senior housing market, know that you were already in a niche market. So a comparison to regular market and the uptick, which is also relatively slow, but yes, you know, the real estate market hasn't conceded in any way in the Bay Area, and it will not concede in the senior housing market as well, because most of our seniors are going to come back. But if your rents are high, and that is the reason why you're not able to attract this population, that's something operational that needs to be considered. USA Properties Funds is a multi-million, if not $1 billion endeavor. You have property management all over the country. You have housing units all over. 92 units is a fraction in your portfolio, of which 20% occupancy in a COVID state is remarkable in my mind. The other factor for city to consider is how many other senior housing entities will come back to reverse their need just because they have a higher vacancy rate. How many commercial properties will come back just because they have a reverse in vacancy rate. This is, again, can't reaffirm this, temporary, penny wise, pound foolish if we open this can of worms. I can understand retail, because that's a market that we are sensing because of the online search, but housing, affordable housing, senior housing are very niche. And the more we take away, just because the developer hasn't seen a profit margin based on their pro forma, is going to be a huge impact over time for the city. If I take into consideration the optics of this application, the parking permit that was allowed, the CEQA clearances that happened, the support it would have attained at the time that it was a senior housing application, and now coming back is like a bait and switch. It might not be the intent. I give full credit, and I know USA Properties is not that way, but it may open up that option for others to come back, get in an application, affordable housing or a senior housing, and then come back and saying, we did not get enough of our pro forma met, so we want a new change. So I, again, will not be in support of this change, but I want the commission to actively ponder on the future that this will open for future applications of this type. We have senior housing as a huge demand because we are an age-in-place city. We want to encourage seniors to continue to thrive, live independently without having to move out of their home state because they cannot afford it. If this falls flat in the face of every goal that the city has entertained for its senior citizens. With that, I yield, Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Casey and then Commissioner Biagini. You might be muted.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for, I'd like to thank my fellow commissioners' comments. This is why I appreciate a hearing like this to hear my other commissioners' viewpoints. And so to me, it looks like the applicant has two options: to either lower the rent or to negotiate with the city. My recommendation is to set up some affordable housing for this complex. If the applicant does not feel that this recession, post-COVID recession, is survivable as a senior housing. The other option is to lower the rent, as Commissioner Cherukuri has said. Me personally, I'd like to see some affordable housing. This is a brand new zoning it's from PD to PD, but this is a brand new zoning proposal. So, I'd be most appreciative if the applicant were open to signing up for affordable housing. Other than that, then yep, the lower rent. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Biagini and then Commissioner Hong. And then Commissioner Hero.
Thank you, Chair Salam. Again, it's not an easy call. I just really want to emphasize that. But I agree in large part with my colleague, Commissioner Chair Kuru. Without repeating what she said, a key sticking point to me is at $3,000 a month, that's hardly a senior affordable rent of a senior rent period. I mean, I won't even get into the issue of affordability because that was not a condition when the property was built. Yes, there's considerations and exceptions, but I think at this point in time, I can't see supporting the change because it comes right back down to me to which constituency do you help and at which constituency's expense. And I think senior housing is important enough that that constituency carries more weight with me. I yield back to the chair.
Okay, thank you. I believe I said Hong and then Hero. Commissioner Hong.
Hi, thank you, Chair. Actually, yeah, the pricing. My question to the applicant is, do you guys have data for senior housing in the Valley? What's the average and what's your price? Can the applicant answer this question?
Yes, thank you. We were just muted. So Miss Elliott just unmuted. Yeah, just for clarification, I believe Mr. Vartan misstated the rent for a 1-bedroom unit. So I just wanted to clarify that it's not 3,000. So I know that the commission's been focused on that number. So I'll let Steve respond to that.
No.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, we've been running specials and offering free rents for months. You sign a lease, you get a number of free months on the lease. The effective rent is $2,500 for a 1-bedroom unit.
So
okay, thank you. Yeah.
May I ask what it is for 2-bedroom? Because I'm sorry, but I'm looking at your website. I see 1-bedroom, 1 bath, 2,700 to 3,300, 2-bedroom, 2 bath, 3,750 to 3,860. I'm sorry, Chair.
Yeah, again, if you're on our website, you also see special lease offer button that people push to contact and get information about free rent on a 12-month lease for, I don't know what it is. It's several months, and the effective rent as a result of that is $2,500, and I think for a 2-bedroom, it's probably in the $2,700 to $2,800 once you factor that in.
Yeah, and let me clarify that for Steve, that there is a box that comes up on our website that offers discounts, 5 to 6 weeks free rent, in addition to a lower rate of starting in the 2,500 range. What they're showing on here is 2,610 because they leased their 2,500 unit, but the effective rate, it would actually be lower because you would take that 6 weeks rent free and amortize that over it as well. So we're probably running more in the 2,300 a month range, which is significantly below new lease ups in this submarket.
yeah, and thank you for clarifying that miscommunication by a speaker. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
I kind of want to apologize for the commission. It's not really our area to interrogate nor judge your rental policies. We were just commenting on the relative scale of the rent versus the current situation of being at a 20% occupancy. Yeah, we're not, the numbers are your numbers. They're not in our purview to comment deeply on.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Oh, Chair. So sorry. Another thought is, since the this project, they have 2 buildings. Is it possible convert 1 building or only, or just, some thought? Thank you. That's it.
I shared that thought for a moment, but I don't believe that this project is an entire project. It's not a per building thing. Maybe our attorney can comment, or the city staff.
Do I understand the question to be, could you just make one of the 2 buildings a senior?
Yes.
Element? Yes, you could. If it's a contained building, that's theoretically possible. We've seen that before, where different buildings on one parcel, only one of which is designated as. That would, you couldn't approve that tonight, though. We'd have to come back with different resolutions and plans, and obviously get the buy-in of the developer.
Yeah, and that seems like a logical extension of the possible options, but yeah, like you said, come back. I believe we have also Commissioner Hero.
Thank you, Chair. So I have a unique perspective on the topic of COVID, just because I'm a COVID survivor. And in my opinion, COVID has hurt all of us economically, and I mean all of us. Anybody that experienced the quarantine was more than likely affected economically. And I have a hard time siding with the applicant or sympathizing with their, we've all taken a hit, all of us. And I hate to see the fact that even if it's 1 or 2 residents at the current property that are that were misled into thinking that they were going to be renting senior living, and then all of a sudden it changes. I'm not okay with that. I'm really not, and I will be in opposition to the application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we have another comment by Commissioner Bhatnagar.
Thank you, Chair. Quickly, my position is that your idea about maybe considering this in 3 months' time, that's something that I would support. So right now, I would be in opposition. Thank you.
Okay, I believe that is all of the comments. Did anyone have any last questions directly for the applicant or any of the public speakers? No, Commissioner Chair Kuru, yeah, go ahead.
I don't have comments for the applicant, but I did want to say that I don't want to raise arbitrary expectations on a 3-month timeline, because I feel, as Commissioner Harrow mentioned, the seniors are still recovering. There's a lot that we don't know about the COVID impact, really. There's a 92, this is a 92 unit, 20%, 4 months on average, at least potential. I understand that it's not until they occupied, but there is an uptick. So I don't want to put in an arbitrary come back in 3 months, because it's a whole new process for the applicant. I just want to make sure that at this time and until the application has better financial justifications, or there's a real trend in this type of applications coming forward to the commission that is pretty revealing, that we not set an arbitrary come back in 3 months. I yield, Chair.
Excuse me, we do have a member of the public with their hand up. Are they, Xander, can they still speak? Can we
No, the
allow?
public hearing is closed. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's too late.
Okay. Okay, just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Yeah, we've been down that path, unfortunately. The next step would be for someone to entertain a motion, or me to entertain a motion.
I can make the motion if the commission is ready.
Please go ahead.
I move that we deny the recommend denial of the application for change from PD to PD with the covenant being removed of age restriction. And I know there's a better way to say it, but you get it.
Yeah, we might want to put it back in its original positive.
Can I second it and just make a suggestion that we say motion to recommend the city council deny the rezoning from plan development to plan development to adjust the age restriction language restricting occupancy to senior households age 55 or older to allow occupancy for residents of all ages, because this way it is the wording of the alternative number 2. Does that work for you?
Thank you. I approve the friendly amendment, which is stating accurately my thoughts. Thanks.
And I second.
If I may make a comment.
Well, let's let Xander jump in. It looks like he has a comment.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to suggest that I help you out with the necessary findings that would be necessary to forward this to the City Council tonight without a resolution. The other alternative is that you come back at your next meeting, which won't be till August, and pass a resolution then. And I'm sure the developer would have an opinion about that. But if with your permission, I took a lot of notes, I can suggest the findings that you would need to make in order to carry this motion through tonight.
We appreciate your expertise in this.
Well, as you know, this is a PD rezone, and there are 4 findings for a PD rezone. You have to make all 4 of them to say yes to a PD rezone. You only have to make one of them to say no. If you can't make all 4 findings, basically, then the answer is no. So I think for the commission's purposes tonight, there are 2 of the findings that are particularly relevant. One is the existing zoning inappropriate or inequitable? And 2, is the proposed zone change required by public necessity, public convenience, or the general welfare of the city? On that first point, I would suggest that that if I understand the motion correctly, existing zoning is appropriate in the opinion of the maker of the motion, and that the existing zoning serves the significant need for senior housing identified in the city's housing element. And for the second finding, that the proposed zone change is not required by public necessity, public convenience, the general welfare. I heard one of the commissioners state that the state has reopened less than a month ago, and so there hasn't been sufficient time to evaluate the potential change in the housing market. That retaining the senior designation would benefit the current tenants who leased units and relied upon the belief that the units would continue to be age restricted, and also because the project does not meet parking requirements of a standard mixed age development. If there are any other things you'd like to throw into the mix, I can take those down as well.
Thank you, Xander. As the maker of the motion, I am fully in support of all of the findings that you just iterated. And then when, if you are bringing it back, I just have a clarifying question. Will the applicant be given again the same opportunity to rebut? Because I don't want this whole process again, because we've heard plenty of testimony today. I just want to clarify what the process would be if it's coming back in August.
To clarify, it is not going to come back. The reason I'm reading the findings to you now are so that we don't have to come back in August.
Okay.
What we put into the minutes, if it is agreeable to the maker and the seconder, we'll just memorialize it in the minutes, and that way the developer can go straight to City Council.
Agreed. So as the maker, I completely agree with the findings, unless the commission members want to add or edit some of those comments.
And my second holds.
Yeah, I have my hand raised for comment.
Well, sure, if it's short, because we're going to move into the vote otherwise. Go ahead.
This is a recommendation to the council. The council, of course, is going to make its own decision. I like to respectfully request that to the recommendation, I'd like to add a comment that if the council were to entertain approving this request, that to consider adding an affordable housing component to any changes that the council may approve.
through the chair, would that be like or council, I'm saying attorney, would that be like a second motion, or would you like that included as a comment? How would you like to capture?
You're welcome to include it as a comment. My concern is we don't actually have a legal mechanism for imposing that condition.
So we'll make it a comment if it's okay with Commissioner Casey.
Oh, wait. Oh, okay, because this is not a new development, so there's no legal mechanism, but,
There's no.
okay,
that is
but it's a rezoning, which means that the council does have a leeway in deciding whether yay or nay. So, okay, yes, please add this to my comment, as a comment to the recommendation, if I may ask.
You know, our vote will reflect our opinion on this issue for the council, and they can absorb it at their pleasure.
Well, currently the motion only says, the motion is to not recommend not to approve. So there's no, it doesn't say anything about affordable housing. So.
Well, we're recommending not to approve based upon at least the two conditions that Xander gave us, and they were sufficient to recommend not to approve. It would be up to the council to decide if they'd like to override that at their discretion.
Yes, and my request is that to add a comment that if the council were to do that, then to consider adding an affordable housing component to any changes in zoning that it may entertain.
I don't know. And as Xander said, I don't think there's any legal recourse to suggest that.
That's why I'm asking it to be added as a comment, not as part of the recommendation.
That the city council explore affordable housing options with the developer.
Yes, that's fair.
Thank you.
The developer can always voluntarily provide it. It's just in the
Right, and there's time for the developer to think about it before it goes to the council. So hopefully, this is something that they can think about.
So
Through the chair. Chair Salim.
Yes, Commissioner Hero, go ahead.
So it seemed to me that the applicant was extremely reluctant to discuss even the possibility of an affordable housing component. And if we're going to send a note to council, I think that should be included.
I think council can bring up the issue and suggest it, and the applicant can have time to consider their options between now and the council meeting, depending upon the results of our vote.
Meaning they may reconsider.
Yeah, I just put it in correct terms. They can consider what their options are at the time. There has not been a vote yet, so I'm not suggesting one way or the other.
Understood.
Okay, shall we proceed to the vote?
Sure. Assistant City Attorney, could you just, your second finding, I will get it from our reporting, but could you give me a short synopsis? All I have, the first finding is that the existing zoning is appropriate. The second was about proposed zoning, but I'm sorry, I didn't quite get it.
The proposed zone change is not required by public necessity, public convenience, or the general welfare of the city. And there were 3 grounds for that, which I'll be happy to email you to tomorrow.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Okay.
And also, let's be clear what a yay is and a nay is on this motion. A yay means that we are declining to recommend. Correct? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So the vote is alternative 2, which we just discussed with the 2 findings from the Assistant City Attorney and Commissioner Casey's comment to council for council to explore approving or considering adding affordable housing. Commissioner Biagini?
Yes.
Commissioner Cherukuru?
Yes.
Commissioner Hero?
Yes.
Commissioner Wang?
No.
Commissioner Ikezi?
Yes.
Chair Salim?
Yes.
Commissioner Batnagar?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Elizabeth, so the motion passes?
Yes,
Yes, the motion passes.
I was waiting to see
Yes.
the results pop up. I believe it passes at 6.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
6-1. Thank you.
Okay, we get to see you. I think that the stream has lost the results.
Yeah, I think so.
I should say that
Did
this.
the vote not show up on the screen?
Correct.
No, it didn't.
Oh,
Can
I don't have control over that. Our
Yeah, is I
web
can
team. So I apologize. I thought all of you see that. So
No, unfortunately. But it's more important that it get captured for video for others that may want to watch later.
yes.
Is there any way for IT staff to put that up there just to capture it for the?
Let me check.
Yeah.
We'll give them a
chance. It sounds as though the IT team, well, we've captured the vote. I mean, we have the vote. So it should be showing on the screen. I'm sorry it didn't. We'll discuss that for future meetings.
Okay.
All right, so.
It's just as long as it's in the minutes and that we've just confirmed that, the vote is 6.
It most definitely will be.
Awesome.
All right.
And for your information, this is tentatively scheduled for August 17th council meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
I believe we are complete on our public hearing items at this point.
Correct.
I also don't think that there is an appeal on this since this is a recommendation.
Right,
So,
this goes straight to city council.
right. So there's no need to discuss the appeal process. Okay. Let me yell at my kids for just a moment and tell them to please stop screaming at their games, and then we'll continue. Thank you. Hopefully you didn't hear that.
We were trying to do your lip reading here. Could you please kindly?
Yeah, it was as loud but as pointed as I could be.
The joys of Zoom.
But both are behind closed doors and you can still hear them. Okay, I believe we can move on to the next topic then. Thanks to the applicant for coming in. I look forward to hearing the council meeting on this. All right, we're up to reports of commission, board, liaison, committee. Is there announcements or other items at this point? Anyone want to comment on that? Nope. I want to give everybody an opportunity because I've been in meetings where people just like jumped right ahead of it, and I did like, wait, I had something. Commissioner travel training reports, requests to attend trainings. Is there anything coming up in the near future? I haven't heard of any, and I've actually been looking. It seems that most of the commission related conferences and things have just kind of gone underground or something, but I haven't seen anything for upcoming commissions, meetings, training. Okay, then we can go on to the director community development reports, planning commission budget updates. I saw one go by, so.
Okay, thank you. Chair Slane, there's 3 items of main pertinence for the commission that took place since your last meeting. One is 2905 Stender Way. That was the rezoning from PD to PD for the data center. And that was approved by council, and it is going forward now to architectural review on July 28th. Another item was a tentative parcel map for 1199 Coleman Avenue. And then lastly, the most recent one was June 22nd. There was an action on the ENA, and that's stands for Exclusive Negotiating Agreement, and that was with Metropolitan Republic for the property right where the train depot is and the bus hub at 500 Benton Street. and there was a request for the third amendment, and it's going back to council for reconsideration, but there was no action to support extending that ENA for the development proposal that was considered at that property. So it's going back to city council for, I believe, on tomorrow for reconsideration of their action not to act on it. And but that's where it's at right now. And those are the only other actions that pertain to planning commission that were included on the most recent city council agendas. And because I had a little technical glitch, if Elizabeth has the PC budget, she can give you your allocated balance for the new fiscal year and the current balance, because I unfortunately can't read it at this point with my.
Yes, all prepared.
Thank you.
The
Just for a second. I'm trying to understand the terminology that just went by. So the item is going back to council to be reconsidered on an item that was not considered.
Right.
Hit me with that one again. I didn't get that.
Yeah, I'm going to try to explain hopefully how I understand it as well as I can. Okay, so this group, this private development group, was entered into an exclusive negotiated agreement, that's an ENA, with the city. And so that allows the developer a certain amount of time to basically develop a proposal and to be considered for a city-owned property. This one's owned both by the city, and a portion of it's owned by VTA, but because it's essentially looks like one parcel and would be developed as a single entity, they wanted rights to basically work through a proposal and run it by council and then submit basically the project proposal. So it went through a bunch of outreach and things like that. It started out as basically as a private kind of a student housing proposal, like a like kind of a co-housing type of project, like with kind of private dormitories, so to speak. Then it got expanded, and it's at this point kind of a hybrid between mixed use and basically I think it's fairly unrestricted in terms of who would share the housing, but in terms of shared housing units, so it'd be rented by the bed. So that's kind of what Metropolitan does, is do student housing, commercial student housing. But anyway, so the council, there's an opportunity for like to extend the ENAs. Typically they're maybe there for a year or 18 months. If you haven't performed, or if you want more, or if it doesn't seem to work out for both parties, they can get out of it and just kind of go on their way. But they wanted to keep, it kept evolving, and so they asked for an extension. But there were terms required for the ENA that the city is stating, and as VTA acknowledged, they didn't meet, and there were certain requirements to extend the ENA for another period. And I think most parties are saying they did not meet it. The developer is saying they have a valid agreement and it's automatically extended, but the city's position is that it had certain performance measures and those weren't met. And so that staff report will be available. So when it went up, I think a week ago or so, it was on the 22nd, they asked the council to extend the agreement, and they needed action, but nobody, it was a written petition to extend the agreement, and there was nobody took up, nobody voted, made a motion to extend it. They just noted and filed it, which means it's not going to happen. And now they're asking, council has a process called reconsideration. So anything they acted on previously, they can modify, reverse, or redo, essentially, if there's a positive vote on somebody that, I think it's whoever voted in the majority vote. So since I think just about all of them agreed, no, maybe, I think it was a majority did not support it. So somebody from the majority would have to recommend continuing it and agendize it for discussion. But there's also the policy itself says there has to be new information, and in the I guess the contents, it says that there isn't any new information presented. So by policy of placing something for reconsideration, they're not meeting that requirement either. I hope that's not too much information.
No. I actually tried to watch the stream, but I think I got to that point
Okay.
and my eyes glazed over. So thank you for trying to explain it. I think I have a better understanding. Okay, because sometimes process is extremely knotted. So
The short answer is the council didn't extend the ENA. They're
Right.
asking for them to reconsider that action, and that's what's going on tomorrow.
got it.
That's all.
Thank you so much. I'll have a better understanding. And there was other, okay, I think you moved on to upcoming agenda items.
With the budget, actually.
Oh, the budget. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
So the new fiscal year has started, and the Planning Commission has $16,320 for the fiscal year. So starting July 1st, we only have one expense. That was the APA membership for Commissioner Bhatnagar, which was $68. So the balance is $16,252.
Okay. Has there been any progress on finding and inviting speakers for some of the key topics we have coming up? I know there's very few people.
Rena primarily handles that, and so we can report maybe at the next meeting, like what topics have been brought up and what the status is of maybe securing speakers and or contracts for those topics.
Okay, so I think our next
Can you guys
steps.
hear me? This is Rena.
Yes, hi Rena, go ahead.
Hi everyone. Yeah, so we spent a bit of time trying to secure our form-based code speaker for the joint study session. And as you know, we are moving that to an alternate date. So we're trying to find that. And I will get working on some of the other topics that we had talked about previously. But most recently, there were the efforts were made were related to the form-based code.
Okay. Yeah, I believe I remembered that the Thursday session was canceled, and I was wondering where things were moving. So that's good to know that things are moving still. Okay. Is there anything else in the budget? Do we have any upcoming expenditures that we have to reserve or approve today?
No.
Okay, good. Then the next thing would be upcoming agenda items for our next meeting. What's next?
No, I'm not completely, we just switched our permit system and I didn't check that. I apologize. I thought we had a couple of pending beer and wine licenses for use permits, and we have a potential variance for a single family property. Whether that makes it on that next agenda, I'm not quite sure, but it's coming up quickly.
But we have enough that we'll have the next scheduled meeting without it possibly being canceled.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, good. And then I think you already covered city council actions, didn't you?
Yes.
All right. So do you want to give our new commissioner the opportunity to send us on our way with the final motion for adjournment?
May I submit a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll second it.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Any objections? No. Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Great.
you. We'll consider
Thank
that
you.
a unanimous vote.
Bye-bye.
Good
Unanimous.
luck to
Bye, everyone.
To
Till
Commissioner
next
Clara.
month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good
Thank
night.
you, everyone. Good
Bye.
night.
And Mr. Chair.